Welcome to today's video. I didn't understand this for years, so hopefully this video will break it down very quickly. God is obviously known as kind of like the mystery man in the sky. That's what most people think about. He's just some imaginary man floating out in the clouds somewhere. And there's a really hard time buying into the concept of God, especially when you have all these different religions on planet Earth and you've got all these different ways to find happiness and then go about doing it. Who's to say that God is real, right? And our individualism is ultimately affecting the equation in a very big way, and there's a lot of societal programming to resist this type of stuff. Like I mentioned, most of us, when I say God, think of like an imaginary man sitting on a cloud watching us all, and that's kind of what he's doing. He's not really participating. Is he real? We don't know. Is he not real? We don't know. That seems to be the 2025 interpretation of God when you say that out loud. And I know that like the mystery man in the sky thing is very tough to believe, right? So if we're made in God's image, how come we're so weak and we can't really do anything that, like, we don't have mental powers or anything like that? Why doesn't God participate in the world anymore? That's another question that a lot of people have. Why are there multiple religions if he's real? Why does he allow all these different religions to worship other gods? The cruelty of the world is kind of unspeakable. You look around and you see people stealing from each other left, right, hurting each other. It's all over the news. It seems like the cruelty of the world is really, really hard to wrap your head around whether or not God is real. If God loves us so much, why would he send us to hell? And if God loves us so much, doesn't he want us to just love ourselves and be ourselves? So like, why are certain things not allowed in the Bible if he just wants us to be ourselves? And why is there only one model of a life to follow? I know a lot of people have that question too. Let's just imagine for a second that it's all real, okay? You don't have to believe. Let's just do a thought exercise. If you don't believe, if you do believe, let's just go down this together, right? Let's pretend like Earth is just a free will test. Just pretend for a second that we're not actual human beings and that we're a spiritual being. So your soul is real and that you're driving a 100-year car. At the end of the 100 years, your car crashes and then you exit the car and you go get a new car, right? Let's pretend that's real for a second. What would this life represent? It would represent the ability to choose whatever we want. Look around. You can choose whatever we want. You have free will, truly. Nobody is going to tell you what to do. We live in a broken world right now because if you think about biblically, let's say there was a good way to live a life and then there was a perhaps question mark fun way to live the life. Which one would you choose? And originally, the original sin of Adam and Eve is choosing the latter. There was a good way to live and then there was a question mark fun way to live. And the question mark fun way is what allowed humans to start choosing sin and go down this path of whatever. 98% of people think this way in 2025, right? Our individualism is the most thing that matters. Everybody has a right to pursue their own freedom and equality of happiness. And it's really interesting what, if you do believe in Satan, again, just go down this thought exercise with me, what evil forces have been able to do. They've turned equality against God and they've turned the pursuit of freedom against God because we all have our individual identities and pretend these are your ways of looking at the world. So like, this person, this little V that this person sees is their reality. Like, let's say this is a born-again Christian that's just a diehard Christian. Let's say this is a gay man. Let's say this is a Muslim. Let's say this is a Buddhist monk. Let's say this. We're going to have overlap, right? But our realities naturally will not overlap the more we cling to ourselves and the more we cling to, well, I think this. Well, I think this. This is how you get to the afterlife. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. The more we form these little individual identities, the farther and farther we get spaced out and the less we share in our own realities. Let's take a look at this option instead. Let's say this community, just on the topic, let's say this represents the community of Christians. Let's say over here you got Joel Osteen in the Prosperity Bible, and then let's say over here you got the Roman Catholic Church, and somewhere in the middle is Protestantism, all this and that. Christians have a lot of overlap, but ultimately, as we or any other communities of this type naturally start to form, we have a lot of things we relate to. We can talk and share more and more of our realities with ourselves, even if we don't agree. But the issue is we're still interpreting the Bible, and that leads to all these variations, which is whatever. And I really want to drill home that communities are very, very powerful. Everybody on earth wants to be loved and wants to feel loved, but it's the illusion of equality, because the more we cling to these communities, the more we cling to our identities. Some communities are going to be massive and some are going to be tiny. And if all of these are truly fair and equal, what happens if one of these doesn't like the other one, and the other one naturally doesn't like three of these, but three of these naturally like the one, and there's distorted power dynamics amongst all these communities because they don't all have the same members. So what this causes is it causes us to fight nonstop as human. It distracts, it deceives, it gives us the illusion of love and equality when in reality we're actually just kind of pinned against each other. How about instead of forming one of these guys, what if there was a world, and just hear me out, where we all converged, we all saw the same reality, and this ball is actually just all humans aligning underneath the same reality? What would that look like? Well, there really wouldn't be any wars. There wouldn't really be any fights, lust, lying, stealing, because we're all working for each other. We would selflessly love everybody around us. You could walk into a room full of strangers and you would never have to worry about talking with them about your most vulnerable things because you know they all have your best interests in mind. There would be no arguments at all because we would literally just be understanding each other and coming with grace to each other's conversations and hearing everybody out. There'd be unified goals and accomplishments, and there would be no temptation to lead another life. But how? I mean, come on, Willie. Like, you got all these different things, right? You got this, that, up, down, left, right. How would somebody unite this entire broken world underneath one concept? And who's to say that it is the concept? I believe in one thing and one thing alone, love. I think love is truly a timeless concept, right? All humans at the core of who they are at least have an idea or a concept of love and want to be loved and seen by somebody else, right? And you think about it, what is love? Well, it's selflessly caring for someone or something. You sacrifice for that thing, so when the goings get tough, you don't walk away. You commit and you have discipline, and you say that, well, you know, love is an amazing feeling, but it requires a little bit of sacrifice, you know? You have to believe in an imaginary idea to believe in love because it's not a thing. It's timeless, and it transcends all of their emotions. The same love that was talked about thousands of years ago is the same love we find in 2025. God would require us to selflessly love him, sacrifice for him, commit to him, believe in a supposed imaginary idea, believe he's timeless, and that he transcends all other ideas. Do you see the connection here? God is love. And if we united under love, that is truly how humans would be able to move forward as a society and a civilization and stop battling each other and introducing all this evil things into the world. The other thing you have to think about with this individualism is if there is no God, if there's no confirmed God, and we don't know, and we have all these different ways to pursue a God, and we get to say for ourselves what God is, we each have to define that. And love is then not a universal concept because we're all defining what love and God looks like. If we believe in God, we believe in the concept of love, and we all need to believe in the universality of love and give our individuality to this concept. So instead of saying, I'm going to bend my identity to fit what love is, you say, I'm going to study the art of love and get better at it, right? And how do you study the art of love? I mean, that's the Bible. And if you think about it, God is just a huge hive mind of love. If God is real, then at this point, he's created billions and trillions of humans, right? There's probably all these other life forms on other planets we don't even know about. And all these life forms have rallied under the banner of love. And they've given complete authority to the concept of love. And by doing so, there is a central authority figure that is 100% good. It's hard to imagine that on this life, there'd be like a boss or something that truly just loves you to the bottom of his heart and wants what's best for you. But that's what God is. He's truly a 100% spiritual being. And that's how he's omniscient as well, is because we all make up God. By loving God, we are tapping into something bigger. It's a hive mind, and God is allowed to read our thoughts and all of it. Understanding that all these blessings come from love and God, not ourselves, is also very freeing because you stop saying, geez, I'm smart. Geez, I'm funny. Geez, I'm good looking. You say, I am part of something beautiful, and each of us have our own individual gifts. And God has blessed us with our own individual gifts because he loves us and wants to see us use those gifts. Nowadays in 2025, God is quote unquote evil. I've heard all of these things. God represents oppression and control. No, God is simply asking you to selflessly love him for your eternal soul's sake. It's the highest stake possible. People would rather rebel and run in fear. I don't want to believe there's one way to live. A lot of people say that. That's simply ego. God is telling us love exists, and I built you things with an intended way of living. We like to say that no, we get to decide how to live. The other thing that I always heard growing up, and this is from a George Carlin skit, if God loves you so much, why would he send you to hell? Correct. God doesn't send anybody to hell. We choose to send ourselves there. We can lead a horse to water. He can literally put a Bible in front of you and say, God and Jesus is real. And how many people do you think believe that? Nobody. Nobody believes that anymore. God does not participate in the universe. I mean, let me just give an obvious example. Titanic. Do you know what the headline for that was? God cannot sink this ship. Do you know how the Titanic sunk? It got split in half, literally like a paper toy. Right? It didn't matter who was on it. The thing went down. And then 100 years later with OceanGate, we'll get into this in a second, but go read Psalm 88 if you haven't and think about OceanGate and the dive and come to your own conclusion. There are everyday miracles that are still happening in our life. People, will die for 20 minutes and come back to life and claim they saw Jesus. These things are still going on. Why does God allow this world to be so evil? He didn't want this world to be evil. He created something that turned evil, Satan, and then Satan introduced all this to the world. God is just allowing this process to continue, and this is a free will test to see whether or not we're going to come back. Yeah, but 95% of people don't believe this stuff. In the Bible, every single time there's a human civilization reset, and there's multiple of these things, 9+ out of 10 people are wiped out because they are all deceived and don't believe in it anymore. They're all worshiping money, God, religion, society, left, right, up, down, right? But Satan is the Lord of the lies, the earth, and deceiving humans, right? And so the thing that people may have lost through time is Satan doesn't appear as a pitchfork with horns. He appears as a boss offering you a promotion. He appears as somebody trying to take away your humanity, your thoughts, and your feelings. That is literally what the end game is for the species. He's trying not to reveal himself and to get us to carry out his will. God requires something really, really hard. You have to 100% believe that the Bible is here to teach us how to live so that we can unite under love. There's truly an intended way we were supposed to interact with each other. And that's a hard thing for a lot of people to swallow. I always had an authority issue growing up. We also have to believe that we are not the center of our universe. We don't go out in the world and build things with our hands and conquer things. We were blessed with this earth to have an amazing, fun life, but we're not the center of it. We also have to understand that our blessing, so I was always called, smarter than most growing up, and that's not me. That's something God gave me to hopefully, share with the world and build things and do things with this intelligence, right? And you also have to understand that this is a hard thing to swallow, especially for my Christian folks, because, again, you got people like Joel Osteen who call themselves a Christian under, the Prosperity Bible, I think is this thing. Our interpretations really don't matter. They're completely irrelevant. You can't really bend the Bible to fit your life or modern interpretations. You have to read the Bible and say that, wow, this thing is still relevant. I completely surrender to it. Where can I do better so I can learn how to rally under love? Because as a human, I don't really understand the concept completely, and maybe I should study it, right? So I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys for watching. This is God Simplified. And so I'd say anybody that's thinking about this topic, I'd just say, what makes you happy? Is it animals, family, and community, or is it ego, identity, arguments, and jobs? Because, I think that a lot of times people love to cling to their interpretation of what love is. And I think saying, I don't know what love is, but I believe in the concept is what they're actually trying to get at. And as a Christian, obviously I'll add, a lot of people will say okay, what about the multiple religions thing? There is a man who performed miracles and came back from the dead. This same man is being talked about 2,000 years later. He is the most widely documented man in all of history. And frankly, his name is Jesus. And Jesus said, I am the only way into heaven. Part of the deceit and deception of this earth is you're going to be able to choose any religion under the sun, yoga, coffee, this, that, up, down. You can find a million ways to find happiness, but I am the one way to find love and the way to heaven. So You know, when everybody's like, yeah, but God wouldn't want that. Love is love. You know, if we start interpreting what love is, this concept, we all come with our different understandings, and then it gets twisted. Then it's not love anymore, right? It's a singular, unified concept, and that's truly what it is. Thank you guys again. I'll see you in the next one, and hope you all have a great, great day.